Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments our ceremony will begin. We respectfully request that all mobile devices be turned off or silenced. You should also see a blue candle on your seat. We ask that you please refrain from turning on the candle until prompted to do so later in the ceremony. In addition, throughout the ceremony, you'll be given cues to stand or be seated at the appropriate times. As a reminder, during the singing of the national anthem, guests should stand and place their right hand over their heart. Sworn members with cover should stand at attention and render a salute. Thank you. Once again, good evening. I'm Sergeant Erica Stropka, and I will be your MC for today's ceremony. On behalf of Chief Kazmar, welcome to today's memorial, honoring our fallen officers. You may notice the colors we post today have streamers attached. Each streamer bears the name of one of our fallen officers. Please stand for the presentation of the colors, the singing of the national anthem performed by Addison Apple, and the invocation by Chaplain Jonathan Alameda.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bronze stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Addison. Stay right here with me, okay? I have to apologize. I did go a little bit ahead of schedule, so if you would please remain standing. Okay. If you would please remain standing.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Just wait for just a moment. Stay here. Grab your phone. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Addison.
Good evening. I invite you to join me in a brief word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for your care and concern for police officers and their families. I thank you for watching over us and for the protection you provide against attacks both seen and unseen. I invite your presence to be with us here this evening. We remember all those who have laid down their lives for this community, and thank you that there are those who are willing to sacrifice everything so that others may live in safety. I ask for your comfort for those who are still suffering and mourning the loss of their loved one. Surround them with your presence and with your love. I ask for your continued protection for those who are on the battlefield, even tonight, standing watch over this city. I pray that those who would do us harm would turn from their evil ways. But if they refuse, I pray that you would grant us victory in battle. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Alameda. Today, the men and women of the Tucson Police Department are proud to pay special tribute to our fallen officers. We would like to welcome all of you who have come to share in this solemn occasion. Your presence here today means a great deal to the families of our fallen officers. The memory of their loved ones will never be forgotten. We would like to offer a warm welcome to the family members of our fallen officers. Officer Patrick Hardesty's family, his spouse Demetra, and his granddaughter Lily. Officer Eric Height's family, his spouse Noemi, his daughter Samantha, and his son Roy. We would also like to welcome all dignitaries and distinguished guests. Lastly, we welcome all of our public safety partners, community partners, and all family and friends who have joined us here this evening, both in person and virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our Chief of Police and keynote speaker for today's ceremony, Chad Kazmar.
Sometimes we get caught up in the ceremonial aspects of things. While we're not supposed to do applauses, I think the only thing worthy of an applause is hearing the national anthem twice. How awesome is that? How lucky are we? So let's round of applause. Beautiful. Thank you, Erica. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of TPD, thank you for being here with us tonight. May is a significant month for our profession, a month of reflection, of gratitude, of grieving, and healing. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Police Officers Memorial Day. The calendar week in which May 15th falls is National Police Week, which is going on this week. During this week, our profession pays special recognition to our law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty while serving and protecting their communities. It's a week that defines what it means to be a public servant. It's a week that captures the nobility of our profession. It's a week where we honor 23 Arizona law enforcement members who lost their lives last year. It's a week for us to remember the loss and trauma that we experience in this profession and the trauma that's not always visible. We are here tonight to pay our respects to our TPD fallen officers and their families and friends. Your presence and support, being here with us tonight, matters more than you can imagine. To the Hardesty and Height officer families, we want to recognize the significance of your presence here with us tonight. When we ask for you to be present at our memorial to celebrate the life and sacrifice that your families have made, we know this comes at a significant emotional cost to you. I'm convinced whoever came up with the phrase, "Time heals all wounds," could not have possibly lost a loved one. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It simply provides us with the opportunity in this space to learn our new normal without the ones we love. To our families, we don't always have the words to share with you that capture the significance about how we feel about your loss, our loss. But please take a moment to look behind you. This is your community, your public safety family. Our presence with you here tonight reflects how we feel, and it's a sign of our commitment that we will continue to honor your sacrifice, and we will always be here to support your families. I'm honored and humbled to be standing here tonight as a chief of police. Most of you in the audience know police officers are better at packing away our experiences and our feelings and our emotions than we are talking about them. Note the 3 calls to get everybody to sit, right? In that spirit tonight, I wanted to share a little insight on how the loss of Officer Patrick Hardesty and Officer Eric Height impacted my life and continues to impact my life today as I try to honor their memories. I'm a 3rd-generation Tucsonan, proudly raising 4th-generation Tucsonans, Chase and Deegan, with my wife, Dawn. My entire working life of 26 years has been with the city of Tucson. And if you haven't heard me speak before, to date, I tell people it's still the best thing the city ever gave me was the opportunity to meet my wife, Dawn. 22 years of my life has spent in the public safety profession here in Tucson at TPD. I'm the proud chief of this agency, which was founded in 1871. it would be 20 years later in 1892 when we lost the first recorded loss of an officer, Officer William Elliott. Over the past 151 years, we have lost 8 TPD officers while protecting and serving this community. And 2 of those occurred during my tenure at TPD. I had less than 3 years on the agency when I would learn the true magnitude of my chosen profession. 18 years, 11 months, and 16 days ago, it was Monday, May 26, 2003. I had recently left Pat's squad with a couple other of my buddies. It was around just some shift moves. Dave Scherzinger went to motors. He's happy. Mark Vines went to another squad, and I went to nights. And I remember even back then, I understood the magnitude of the profession, and we get a little superstitious, and we think, well, okay, we're changing our fate. We're changing the work we're going to do, the squad we're going to be in, the geographic area we work in. And I certainly thought about those things back then, and I still do today. I was returning home from a Memorial Weekend lake trip with my wife, Dawn, when we received a call from my academy classmate and fellow Midtown officer, Rob Soder. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Officer Patrick Hardesty had been killed in the line of duty while working in Midtown on a call that anybody here wearing a badge has done 100 times, thousands of times. In an area that I would have been taking that call weeks earlier. When the news broke, we all gathered at the old Midtown substation. Not the new spacious one that a lot of you have work in today. The old one was cozy, and I wouldn't have given up that time there for anything. For those of you that didn't know Pat, or team members that are here tonight, he was larger than life. And I looked up to him as a young officer. There was nothing to do other than to go to the station and be with our friends and support each other. One of the vivid memories I have was the honor of driving Pat's truck home. Everything was how he left it, including that crappy music he was listening to. I didn't change it, though. I wanted to make sure I got that truck home exactly the way that he had left it when he went to his shift. Everybody here that wears this uniform and our families that support us know that that's the risk. The odds are low, but it can happen. And we know that every day when we go to work. Really, the sacrifice is for the family because they're letting us go do what we love to do. Don't confuse our complaining with our joy of the job. Trust me. At the time, I didn't have children, but seeing the impact of the Hardesty's family loss was devastating to our entire division. We all rallied around the family and did guard duty. I remember my interactions with Demetra and the kids like it was yesterday. Even without having kids, it had a huge impact on my life. Shortly after Pat's passing, Dawn and I were blessed with our first son. I knew I was in trouble and I was crying in my own office writing this. Chase Patrick Casmar. We honor Pat's life and we remember Pat through our son's life. Son, you have big shoes to fill, with that middle name. You have a lot of Pat's behaviors, his wit, his humor, dry humor, and your size. You're both larger than life. You're doing a great job earning that middle name, and you need to keep doing it. To our Midtown officers present tonight who didn't know Pat, you get to work in that old two-story building. Keep honoring Pat with a Midtown camaraderie. It's a special division. It always has been, it always will be. 5 years would pass as we all learned our new normal without Pat. June 2nd, 2008. 13 years, 11 months, 9 days ago, Officer Eric Height succumbed to his injuries sustained the previous day in Operations Division East. At the time, I was a sergeant on the south side of town, worked with a great team and the community response team. My squad was honored with the responsibility and the opportunity to pick up Eric's parents and shuttle them around town and get them whatever they needed. I never had the honor of working with Eric or the larger ODE team. But I remember going out there, again like it was yesterday, the significance of the division's loss and the grief and the magnitude of what I knew was ahead of them of learning their new normal was not lost on me. And it took me back to Pat's loss in Midtown. My relationship with the family really blossomed, with the Height family really blossomed when I took over the division as a captain in 2014. I took a great sense of responsibility knowing that Noemi and Samantha lived in the division, the same division that they lost their family member in. It was through that tragic loss that Noemi would go on to create the Eric Height Foundation. I doubt there's anyone here who doesn't know what the Eric Height Foundation means to this agency. But if you don't, the Eric Height Foundation supports Arizona's first responders, our entire group here in Tucson, and their families by providing extended hours, child care, and development opportunities for our children during the shifts that we work. Something so positive to come from such a tragic loss. It has been one of my great honors of my career to work with Noemi and watch the Eric Height Foundation become such a critical part and support of our TPD family. Samantha, I've enjoyed watching you grow up. It's one of the highlights of my career. Reminds me to be thankful of the opportunities that I have with my children. You've grown up into a beautiful and talented young soccer keeper, and I certainly enjoy watching you contribute to your mother's gray hairs. In closing, to the families of the fallen, your TPD family will never forget your sacrifice and your loss. We will continue to work hard every day to honor our fallen partners and your family members while we continue to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Casmar. I'd like to invite the Vice President of the Tucson Police Officers Association, Officer Mike Gomez, and the Vice President of the Fraternal Order of Police, Officer Heather Ma, to make a special presentation.
Across the nation, community members and police officers alike are paying their respects to the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting their communities. Although some of our friends, colleagues, and family members have passed on, we will always hold them in our hearts and in our minds. The shape of the wreath reminds us of the unending bond within law enforcement to support each other and to protect our communities. Like the bond demonstrated by a circle, we promise to never let one another down and never stop fighting for justice. The wreath reminds us that we must never stop defending people's freedoms. We are reminded to continue serving our communities, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Today we honor our fallen brothers and sisters with our service, our friendship, and our love. May God bless those we remember today, and may God bless each of you.
Roses will now be placed at the memorial to symbolize each member of the Tucson Police Department that has paid the ultimate price while in the performance of their duties. The placement of a rose is a sign of respect and memory of those that we knew, worked with, and loved that have paid the price doing the job they loved, protecting the public that they served. Their names are as followed.
Officer William Elliott. End of watch, July 3rd, 1892.
Officer William Katzenstein. End of watch, July 26th, 1902.
Officer Robert Cummins. End of watch, September 7th, 1936.
Officer Barry Hendricks. End of watch, October 28th, 1974.
Officer James Smith. End of watch, October 28th, 1980.
Officer Jeffrey Ross. End of watch, February 18th, 1982.
Officer Patrick Hardesty. End of watch, May 26, 2003.
Officer Eric Height. End of watch, June 2nd, 2008.
We also want to recognize one of our fallen federal partners killed in the line of duty while working in concert with members of our agency. DEA Special Agent Michael Garbo. End of watch, October 4th, 2021.
May we never have to add another name to this list.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tucson Fire Department pipes and drums will now play Amazing Grace. We ask that you please take this opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices our law enforcement officers make on a daily basis. During this time, we ask that you please turn on your candles. Today, we reflect not only on the ultimate sacrifice of our fallen, but more importantly, on how they lived and the impact they made on their family, their friends, and the Tucson community. We also want to pay respects to the following Tucson police officers that we've lost since the time of our last memorial. Tim Froby, Ruben Cajigas, Stephen Cass, Amanda Voss, Jason Southard, and Justin Gilbert. The members of the Tucson Police Department stand on the shoulders of giants, our fallen and all generations of TPD officers that are no longer with us. In recognition of our long and storied history, our newest generation of officers carry the sacred duty of guarding our heritage into the future. With that said, tonight we begin a new tradition, the passing of the badge. Chief Kazmar will pin our heritage badge on 4 officers, one from each of the 4 patrol divisions, representing the best and brightest of our newest generation of guardians. The heritage badge, a 6-point star, is the first commissioned badge worn by TPD officers beginning in 1881.
The heritage of our agency is built on over 150 years of service to the Tucson community. Part of that heritage is remembering the legacy of our fallen officers. We do in fact stand here today, as Eric said, on shoulders of giants. It is our duty and care to protect our heritage. In the spirit of that preservation, we formally entrust our newest generation of Tucson police officers. Officer Alex Martin, Operations Division South. Officer Rosanna Davidson, Operations Division West. Officer Matthew O'Connor, Operations Division Midtown. And Officer Lindsay Westbrooks, Operations Division East. You have been selected by your peers to represent the passing of the badge. From generations past and now to you, you will proudly display our heritage badge until next year's memorial.
ensure that our fallen are not forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the rifle salute, which will consist of 3 volleys of gunfire, followed by the playing of taps. Uniformed personnel should stand at attention. Please take special precautions if you have a sensitivity to loud sounds. Following the playing of taps, the Tucson Police Air Unit will conduct a flyover. Please remain standing while the honor guard retires the ceremonial colors.
Yep, hand over.
This concludes our ceremony. On behalf of the Tucson Police Department, I would like to thank you for attending this evening's event. Please enjoy the refreshments in our main lobby. Thank you and have a safe and good evening.